So, hello. We are here. I'm here. We are here. We are here. We are here with Julie
Mhm.
Ashby. Introduce yourself. Only you can introduce yourself the way Israel.
Thanks for having me. I'm in Sydney, Australia. So thanks for having me. Hi everyone. And I've been a media professional for 20 years. I used to work in TV. I worked for Fox in the States and advertising agencies, all that kind of thing. And then for about 8 years, I've also been I guess therapist, life coach, just helping people that have needing to overcome, childhood trauma, which obviously affects their confidence, help people with their marketing as well, really just incorporating, healing and clarity and confidence so that they're clear on what is their life purpose story, what is that mission to get out of them, but doing it in a practical and spiritual way. So you can still be spiritual, you can still be here on a soul mission, but you can also be, a grounded, authentic, professional working person.
Mhm.
And it's just been, such a journey, balancing the two and helping people meet like all those parts of themselves and things they've carried, for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Once you are free of that, just the potential and the opportunities that fly in, it's just been a remarkable, I'm very grateful to be doing it.
Would you say you're a little psychic? Are you a trained psychic? Are you naturally empathetic?
I was born that way, but
Okay.
I didn't accept those gifts. I didn't grow up with that. My dad was like that. He taught me all about astrology, but I didn't really understand. I just thought that was normal. So it really was until I was an adult and I got rid of the story I was born into and started living the story I was born for, that I was like, like everything just popped, because I didn't see it.
Every exchange we've had through Messenger, because we met in New York like 2016, 2017,
Yes.
a long time
ago.
ago.
It was 2018, pre-COVID. Yeah, it's my last world trip in January. So it was this time.
Yeah, and you had a nice way about you. And I was like, I read people pretty well. And every time we've exchanged back and forth on Messenger, I'm like, does this girl know what I'm up to? Like, you just know what's going on. You said something recently. I was like, you gave me advice on draining people, how to not feel drained. And one of the ways, simply put, I could be botching it, on how to not feel drained would be focusing on yourself and really giving to yourself. And then the draining people will kind of fall away. And it's like, I spent the whole day yesterday working on stuff myself, and I felt a lot less drained. Of course, I didn't deal with draining people because they weren't on schedule, but it's like I empowered myself during the day. And yeah. And that's
like when I started the whole, coaching world and all my training and my education, everything was, I've got to learn this right. I went to school for years to do it. Everything was in classrooms back then. It was all very practical experience, but I didn't really accept, I think, those like intuitive gifts.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'd say maybe 5 years ago when I realized people's guides talk to me all the time, but anyone out there that's psychic, even very famous psychics, they deny it for so long because it's so difficult to sometimes discern, like, is this message for me? Is this somebody else's stuff?
Yeah.
And especially when you're dealing with clients, there was a lot of work that had to go into like grounding and kind of filing all your thoughts, and also having boundaries with other people's guides to go, do you know, like, I can't be on the clock 24/7. Like, I need to do my own things too, and being okay with that. So it was like a lot of energy balancing, but in a real practical way, so that I could actually, make my living and build my own business and take care of me, and not just be like an open, channel for whoever needed to come in.
Yeah. I think the most,
and learning that changed my health and well-being like 100 times.
I think almost every, or I don't know, countless people that are so gifted intuitively, they've said the same thing. It's like they have to really have very specific rules for boundaries. But anyway, speaking of health, so you're in Australia.
I am.
Lockdown. When did you get out of lockdown? Like this week, last week?
So 2021, we went back into, I'm in Sydney. in Sydney, by the way. So 2021, we went Sydney into hard lockdown in June and for 6 months. So until December, depending on the status of if you were, let's say, juiced, it ended a little bit earlier.
Right.
But for my status, currently it was mid-December, so it was 6 months. So I've had a month to, in essence, rebuild. Like it's like having a comeback. It's like you've been on, how do I explain it? Because I live alone, so you go through things like that alone, where it was in the dead of winter when it started, but then after a few months, it was like, I've got to dig deep mentally and spiritually every day, you know, and some days, like, you know, I've only got 2 or 3 good hours, but I didn't break the chain of discipline, but I also had to go, I have to take every 24 hours as it comes. And some 24 hours are less than, you know, I'm not exactly in high performance mode.
Yeah.
So it was really like such a balance. That's in Sydney. Melbourne was 100 times worse. They were in lockdown for nearly 2 years on and off, and awful restrictions, curfews, 9 o'clock at night, you know, like boarding school, not being able to leave more than 5 Ks from your home for a period of time, which is a couple of miles. It was brutal. And I think the thing that, like, the forgiveness process for me has been a balance of, I guess it's 2 things. It's balancing the value of your safety and being grateful that Australia had little deaths. They did do a good job. When they closed the borders in March 2020, I honestly felt relief. I was like, okay, like, they've sealed us in and we're going to, like, handle this. But after 2 years, no, like, get me out. Like, it's like a prison island. But then there's the freedom. And I've lived in the States, you know, I've lived in, you know, New York and LA. You guys speak up for freedom like you wouldn't have put up with this. And so the culture here is the opposite of
Are they
of
more
that.
submissive, the people?
More passive, more, I want to use my words carefully.
Yeah.
I think when you, like, I've lived in a lot of different countries, and especially the States, you guys voice freedom. You know, the government couldn't just, like, oh, sorry, mate. Sorry, someone just rang me. The government couldn't just do things over there and you guys accept it. You wouldn't have accepted it. But here it was like, you know, it was just a constant balance. And so the forgiveness process has been understanding that there's personal safety and choices, and then there's also looking after the collective. But
yeah, as I said right before we started, I only know one other person well in Australia, and then he called and asked me to marry him, like, probably August, September, I want to say. So I just started seeing someone else who I liked, who I still like. I said, okay, what are the grounds for getting married, which I probably will never do. And I was like, I thought about it. I was like, all right, well, things don't work out, maybe, but things were that bad, and that this person wanted to consider to marry me. I know him for 8 years. We never considered getting married during 8 years, and coming here, dropping everything. That's how bad it was there. I mean, and
that's how, yeah, I mean, by September, I mean, things were rock bottom. It was like, how low can this go? Because we're months into it by then. And it just, like, I know how to control my mind and my thoughts. Like, I've got the tools. And even me by then was like, this is never going to end. This is never going to end. We're never going to get out of here. And I'm a global person, you know, so I'm used to, you know, I've got a global view of this. And no, the thing that was the most painful, like your proposal, was when people have a global view of what's going on.
Right.
And other countries aren't doing this. This isn't this is inhumane. And we felt, especially when you guys were enjoying your summer, you know, we're in this, like, winter hell. It was like, oh my God, no one's speaking up. Like, maybe, I don't know, 1% of the country, maybe 5%.
Really, that low.
The media is so liberal and so one-sided that anyone that dared to was bullied and shamed publicly. And that's not okay. And I mean, I used to work for Fox, you know, over in the States, and they were the only people that spoke up. for Australia. They were the only ones that I heard that actually said what's going on there is not okay, and they've completely lost it. And I felt like there's like at least someone is putting something out there for us.
I should have set you up with my crazy friend in Australia.
Right?
Did live in New York, probably like top 5 least submissive people I know. And he was like same wavelength as you. He's like, this is crazy, super angry. Yeah. But now you guys,
and there is a percentage of us, but we couldn't find each other or reach each other because you're considered like anti and a conspiracy theorist for going, hey, like this, things about this are just not okay, and this is just going on too long. Like, you're taking the safety way too far. And we're seeing the other countries just out, having a great time, and big sporting events and concerts are allowed to be on. And if you wanted to leave, you had to like go through the most long, painful process to ask the government for permission for a seat on basically an empty plane. It's like, to give them your entire life story. I'm like, these are just crossing boundaries here. Like,
and now, what's it like now? Is that all done?
So now things are opening up more. It's very quiet. I can speak for where I live, which is near the water in the eastern suburbs in Sydney, near Bondi Beach. It is very quiet. Everyone seems to be isolating. There is definitely more freedom and movement, but there's not really anything like happening. Okay. And people are free to now book travel, but it's a nightmare. Everything gets cancelled, and it's just so uncertain. So it's like, unless you're kind of having a family emergency, I said in my mind, let's see how things are going by April, May, because the need and the gratification to leave, like, are things stable enough, and like, you know what I mean? You want to go all that way and then you sit in your hotel room alone. Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah. I had 2 friends. I was supposed to make a film, and my co-star got stuck in the Bahamas. He tested positive. He felt fine, tested positive. Another friend, same day, within a few hours, texted me from Italy. She's stuck in Italy, has to stay in Italy 10 days. I mean, and a lot of the tests are faulty positive and maybe faulty negative, because I was sick once and I got tested and I had all the symptoms, every single box. I tested negative. I was sick for months. It took me months to get back. But anyway, but now, do you have to be vaccinated to go places now? Are there still restrictions, or things are open?
Last year they set a date of October, which was juiced up people could go out. Yeah. Then they had a 7-week period until December where unjuiced people couldn't go anywhere except supermarket. So they tried to draw out this long, painful, uncomfortable period to make it. And I just held strong, and I just basically stayed in my bubble, no media consumption, just like, I've made this decision for now, maybe not forever, but no, like, and then now we still have check-in codes, I think, but I don't know. There's just a lot of drama, and I'm just not participating. But you can freely go shopping, and you can't get on a plane and get in and out of the country. I don't think. Like, there would be exceptions, and there are exceptions, but you better be up for a fight,
Right. I think you can vaccinate to leave the country, but not sporting events though. Parties are, are there parties happening? Or like, I've done stand-up comedy the last year. Are people doing comedy? Are they doing stand-up shows?
There's some limits to things like that. I admit I'm a little bit out of the scene. I can't wait to like go traveling and just go wild, like go to a bar and go to a nightclub. It's like, there's no point here from my view. Maybe I'm wrong. But there have been some big sporting events, and they're even in the midst of the worst of the pandemic, they were somehow okay, but we couldn't, like, it was just so inconsistent when it's a government revenue thing.
I hope things open more.
Yes. I think that this Omicron thing, people it seems like everyone got it, and they have such intense contract tracing systems here, and it just, I'm just kind of still on the timeout, but it's okay, because now when I wake up, I know I can go to the gym. I know I can go to yoga. It's a very different thing from not being able to go.
All
like
right.
Just having that mental, it's cool now. Like it's just been an incredible like comeback energy refresh to just rebuild the small things.
Yeah,
When even getting my hair done, I couldn't go to the hairdresser for 6 months. Like that
God.
doesn't make you feel good about yourself.
Right. I kind of stopped. I decided I stopped coloring my hair. I stopped doing my nails. And yeah, I went back to the nails after, but I still don't color.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't know. It was a nice reframing of what matters. I mean, did you have any things that changed for you that you think you'll stop doing after things open up?
Oh, everything. And as bad as as bad as it was, like spiritually, it was the most intense, incredible reset that
Okay.
like God and the universe always have a plan, and to put people in time out for as long as they need to be until they get it. Like for me now, I know that there's no parts of me that I haven't met, that there's nothing inside of me anymore that holds me back now. And now that I'm on the consistent train, there won't be a need to pull back or get off, because I had all of that time with myself to just go, yeah, I've got the energy, the drive, the momentum. I can, handle the fame, handle the visibility. Whereas before, things were just so busy that it was like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes a push pull.
Yeah.
Oh God, I've got to isolate, or I've got to sabotage. Now it's just like,
Right.
no,
Right.
it's like, let's go. So it'll always get more and more perfect as we reflect back. It's only been a month, and I'm like, wow. And you go through things like that. You're not a victim to it. You're stronger for it.
I actually, I think it was the day before the pandemic was announced. I'm pretty sure. I know Joe Rogan came out with this whole video how there's the virus, but you'll find this amusing because you're an intuitive person. I had this job. I don't do well in the 9 to 5 office jobs, but sometimes I'll manage this real estate office, and I'm in an office with no windows, fluorescent lights, all day. And after about 4 days, I start to actually get like these weird pains and like headachy, and I don't get headaches ever, whatever. So after about 2 weeks of this, and I was about to shoot a film, I had to go into like some weird part of the city, New York City, and I'm in this parking lot for like 1, 2, or 3 minutes, and someone posted, I think it was girl Zhaj, I know, also into it, and something like, wouldn't it be nice if the world just shut down? It was some type of post, and I'm looking at this in this parking lot. I feel like it's an 80s movie, and I'm just like hoping, not praying, but like, man, I would love everything to just stop. It would be so cool if everything just stopped, and then like I could rest or do whatever. I wouldn't fall behind. And I'm thinking and thinking and thinking, and the next day, the world shuts down. I'm like, I kind of wanted it because I couldn't deal anymore. I needed a break. And I'm actually,
and I feel like we all, like, I think with 2020, when it ended, we could accept that, but it was the unexpected 2021, the emotional abuse, the coercion, the mandates, you know what I mean? It's like, great, get, you know what, get it, like, and move on with it. It was just the force and the conversation that shame and manipulation and hatred and divide became like, that suddenly became okay. And especially Australia, which has always been, it's a country of light,
right,
to go so dark and to see what really people are like under the surface when there's like, they were so easily prompted.
Do you
and
have
how little people stood up.
Were your friends or family personally, do you have friends directly that were in these fights? Because, I was sent videos like probably once a week of like actual fights with police that were going on there. People were rising up. I mean, it was very crazy because people were so angry. And I was angry over here because it was really out of hand. Do you know people that got involved in physical fights with authority there?
Like protests?
Yeah. Was it that common?
It wasn't that common. They did have quite a few on weekends that would
Okay.
be organized secretly through like, however, like different apps, I think. And they wouldn't be violent, but they would just show a little clip of something to make it look like. And then if you were on the news, then it was like these terrible people you know, how dare they? And,
Yeah.
you know, people were at their breaking point, because when it came to closing construction sites and not letting people be on the roads, these were men that needed to provide for their families.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah, they should say to the government, I am going to work, like, fuck you, because you're also allowing all this other stuff. So yeah, it wasn't really that, I wouldn't say it was that common. It was just hard for people like that to find each other and to know that, no, you're not crazy and it's okay to speak up about this, you know?
Right. Well, thinking of speaking up, so one of the topics we planned, I was like, we're going to get right into it, but I wanted to listen to what you had to say. So I always say that. I'm like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And then it's like something else. But okay, authenticity.